All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be using some pork this evening in our pasta. We're going to make a traditional fettuccine carbonara. We're using some guanciale, which is the pork jowl of a hog. Basically, right now, almost every part of the hog can be used in one way or another. Now, you're going to find that most Italian products are not smoked. So if you see that on a test about pancetta or some other type of Italian cured meat and it says that it's smoked, believe me, ladies and gentlemen, they do not smoke their product. What this is a naturally, how can I say, processed pork jowl. Comes packaged. This is about almost 1 pound. It's used in traditional carbonara. Now, traditional carbonara has no cream. We're going to make a mixture of egg and cheese with a little pasta water and bind that with our pasta. So let's just get started this evening and see how we're going to do. Right now we just have our naturally cured pork jowl. There are no preservatives, there's no nitrates or anything like this, so it has a short shelf life. So once you open it, you want to basically keep on using it. We're going to take it out of the bag here. What they've done is they've given me 2 pieces. I'll only need 1. So what we're going to do, we're going to just take off a piece of this right now so you guys can get a nice look at it. So here it is here. This is what it looks like. Okay. So what we're going to do, we're going to make some lardons out of this. We're just going to slice this nice and thin. What we're going to do is we're going to render the fat out of this bacon. We may save some because we're going to use part of this in our sauce. The skin is removed so it slices real easy. Okay, that looks like it should be enough for one. So we've got our pan started here. We're going to put our lardons in, start the process. Now, while this is cooking, we're going to get our pasta started. Now, traditionally, your carbonara is made with spaghetti noodles. Yes, a little bit of salt because the pork may be salty, so we don't want to over salt. But for days and times, I have some nice fettuccine noodles here, so we change it up a little bit. Now, how much am I going to use? Usually for basically one person, you're going to make approximately 1/4. Okay, I've got about 1/4 in diameter worth of noodles here, as you can see. All right, they're going to go right into the boiling water. That pork smells so good. It's just starting. Also, you want to get our noodles down in there. Now, the average egg noodle takes approximately 8 minutes to cook. Okay? So this isn't a speedy process. It's a nice slow process. We just want to render the fat, get a nice color on on our meat. Now later on, I've got a couple of videos for you guys. One is on how they take this particular meat off the cow's head or the hog's head. Now, if there's anyone squeamish, you know, you don't have to watch this particular video. Then I have one also that a chef is making pancetta. All these processes that you see can be applied at home. So you see how our fat's rendering nicely. Boy, after this tonight, I'm going to have to run around the block. I can feel it. Egg. Cheese. Bacon. Boy, you can't go wrong. So what we're going to do, we're going to start off with our creamy mixture. One egg, one whole egg. About a half a cup of grated fresh Parmesan cheese. Now we're just going to give this a little mix. Oh, beautiful. Now we got everything all binded. Now, what we want to do is, we want to give this some black pepper as well. We got to have black pepper. Now, we're going to take a little of the pasta water. What we're going to do, we want to temper these egg yolks. So we're going to add just a little bit of the water. You don't want to cook them. You want to make a cream. Look at that. Oh my goodness. Beautiful. So we got our egg yolks nice and warm. We'll go back to our bacon here. So, as I was saying, you see a lot of recipes that talk about cream, the use of cream, but I've been investigating, and a traditional recipe calls for egg yolk and cheese. And it depends on what area you come from. Some areas you will use a different cheese. Some will use pancetta. But tonight, we're as authentic as we're going to get in these trying times. So what we're doing is we're just waiting for our noodles to get done. Beautiful. They're coming along nicely. So you see we got a relatively meaty piece of pork. There's not too much fat left, but As you see, all this is going to go right into the sauce. Beautiful. Look at the color. Nice and brown. Okay? That's all we're looking for. Now we're going to turn the fire off on the pork. All we want to do is we want to keep some residual heat in the pan, because that way we won't scramble our egg mixture that's going to go in as soon as our pasta is done. So let's check this guy out. I'm going to take a little bite. So we need about 3 more minutes in here. Not long at all. Once again, I want to reiterate that everyone reads the little notes that I've been trying to put into Canvas. On your final quiz, there will be some questions coming off there. So it's always good to stay abreast of what's going on. So we're almost ready. We're going to get ready to set up here. One more minute to go, and we'll have some beautiful al dente noodles. Beautiful. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to put these noodles in our sauce. It's okay if you get a little water in there, that's fine. That's just going to help with the emulsification. So we're just drop our noodles right in. Okay. So now we're just going to toss our noodles. Now comes our egg mixture. Now we're just going to rotate this gently, gently. You see how the sauce comes together? Beautiful. Look at that. Is that creamy? No cream. No cream. Okay, so let's plate this guy up. Look at that mound of pasta. Wow. Now, what I like to do is I like to add just a little more pepper. I'm sorry. And what we're going to do, we want to put some Parmesan cheese on there. I know we had some in the cream, but there's nothing like adding some extra Parmesan cheese on top. That's really going to hit this off. For those of you who like Parmesan cheese, you're in my club. And there we have it. Beautiful. Our fettuccine carbonara. Beautiful. Thank you very much for viewing, you guys. Stay safe out there. I hope you guys are checking these recipes out. Like I've mentioned before, I'm basically cooking for one person. I'm giving you a little insight what it's like to do one item. So this is, like I said before, it's just a little eye-opening what you're going to do on your final. I don't expect you to do chef work, but we want to do a nice project. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you very much.